I've been building my own kingdom for everyone to see. It exists to keep me safe from harm, and it's intact to glorify me. Nobody helped me build this up. It was me and me alone. I've appointed myself as the king, and I've given myself the throne. But it turns out I'm no ruler, and I have no control. So I have decided to destroy it all. I'm tearing down the walls, kicking down the doors. Everything inside this kingdom is yours. 'Cause what I've made is worthless, and it cannot stand. Come and breathe some life into my empty, cold, dead hands. Down with the fickle king, away with this fantasy. You are the one I need. Death to the kingdom of me. Death to the kingdom of me. I should probably be frightened. This empire's all I know, but it always does more damage than good. I'm afraid it's gotta go. I know that I can't be trusted, 'cause I'm just a man. And if you hadn't given your life for me, a loser would be all that I am. You know they say just follow your heart. I'm afraid that's a load of trash. Your heart will take you down to deep, dark places where you feel like you'll never come back. So I'm coming out of the dark. This facade is... I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, I woke up feeling like it might be a good day to get it done. That's right. Oh, the stadium is just like my second house. Now I'm two-tone talking, they can't shut my mouth. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, 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 yeah. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up.
Oh my goodness. It is May 5th, 2025. It is episode 163 of the Two-Tone Talk by God pod. And even though it is only May the 5th, we're going to be insane today. We're going to be a bunch of nutcases and predict the final 53-man roster for the Tennessee Titans that will not be revealed we're before rookie camp, we're before training camp for sure. Preseason ain't even begun at all. We are predicting the final 53-man roster today because we're insane. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to click that like button. Help me to get into the algorithm. Hope everybody's having a good start to their week. It appears new uniforms might be on the horizon for the Tennessee Titans. But I will say this. The Titans organization cannot be happy with Warren Moon Like, that couldn't have been their plan, is for Warren Moon to just randomly go on the NFL Network and tell everybody the Titans are getting new uniforms. That could not have been their plan, but Warren Moon has said a couple of times now the Titans are getting new uniforms, and it's caused kind of a tizzy because people are ordering their Cam Ward jerseys and saying, should I even order it? Because what if I order the jersey and then they change the uniforms? I would be shocked if the Titans change the uniforms this year. I think they're going to wait to change the uniforms when they move into the new stadium. That's me personally, but that is on the horizon. Today, we're predicting the final 53-man roster for the Tennessee Titans coming at the end, end of August, I guess, when this is officially announced. We're at the beginning of May, and we're doing it today, baby, because we're nuts. Here we go. Predicting the final 53-man roster. Listen, some of this you just got to go on a complete prayer. But this one I'm pretty certain about. The first one I'm putting on the roster is Cam Ward. Number one comes in at number one, obviously. Cam Ward, we're pretty much putting all of our eggs into this basket with Cam Ward. I've got 2 quarterbacks making the final 53-man roster. That's right. I said 2, not 3, not 4. 2 quarterbacks. I've got Cam Ward and his backup, Brandon Allen. Those are the 2 quarterbacks I've got making the roster. Maybe, the Titans, I would hope that they would get somebody better than Tim Boyle. I think they're going to trade Will Levis at some point, even if it's late August after the preseason's over. I ultimately think Will Levis will be traded somewhere for a late round draft pick, and that will leave Cam Ward, Brandon Allen, and Tim Boyle. There's got to be somebody else better out there than Tim Boyle that they can put on the practice squad as the emergency guy. But on the final 53, I've got 2 quarterbacks, Cam Ward and Brandon Allen. So there's that. That's the first 2 spots on the roster. Let's go to running back and let's get this out of the way. So obviously Tony Pollard, who I thought, when I did the Tidy Awards a few months ago after the season ended, I thought Tony Pollard was the best player on the team for Tennessee in 2024. And that's not saying much, by the way. That's not saying very much. But Tony Pollard was what the Titans wanted him to be when they went out and picked him up. I thought Tony Pollard held up his end of the bargain, playing behind a mostly bad offensive line that changed every week with terrible quarterback play. I don't think there was much to be angry with Tony Pollard about in 2024. So I think he's going to be leading the way for the running backs. So he gets the 3rd roster spot. And then I've got Tyjae Spears, who I'm still very excited about, but I'm also concerned about because of the injuries. I'm concerned because of the injuries. Obviously, when he's in there, he's very fast. He's very athletic. He brings a lot to the table in the pass and run game. The problem is the injuries. That's the holdup with me. So this is going to be a big year for Tyjae Spears because, theoretically, this is probably Tony Pollard's last season with the Titans. So this could really be an opportunity for Tyjae Spears to really elevate and become running back number 1 for the Titans this season. But if he can't stay healthy, that's not going to happen. But obviously he's going to be on the roster. And I've got a 3rd running back going to the roster. And I've got the 6th rounder from Michigan. I've got Khalil Mullings as the 3rd running back for the Titans. I've got Pollard, Spears, and Mullings. I think I would rather go with Khalil Mullings than Julius Chestnut. Julius Chestnut, we've kind of seen what there is with him. I think Khalil Mullings, he's a 6th round running back. You're bringing him in to be the 3rd guy. As I've said before, he's a much different type running back than Pollard or Spears because he's kind of like that bowling ball. He's the hard hitter, whereas Pollard and Spears are both very agile, kind of make you miss type guys. Mullings can be your short yardage guy, goal line guy. I like him in that role. So that's 5 roster spots, 2 quarterbacks, and then I've got 3 running backs. Tony Pollard, Tyjae Spears, and Khalil Mullings. Now, let's go wide receivers. And I'm going to go ahead and spoil this. I've got 7. I'm taking 7 wide receivers to the 53 because You got a rookie quarterback in Cam Ward. You want to do every single thing in your power to help Cam Ward. You want to do every single thing in your power to put him in the absolute best position. So, how do you do that? Well, first of all, you got Calvin Ridley. I mean, that's the obvious one. And listen, I think Calvin Ridley deserves more credit for what he was able to accomplish last year. Sorry, I was looking at my phone for something. I thought something had gone wrong, but no. He deserves more credit for what he did last year. To have over 1,000 yards in a year with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph and the pass game that the Titans had, or didn't have rather, I think Calvin Ridley actually deserves more credit for what he was able to accomplish. And I think Calvin Ridley is going to be a great asset for Cam Ward in the pass game. I think Calvin Ridley can still go. I think Calvin Ridley is still a proper wide receiver one. And again, I think he deserves more credit for what he was able to accomplish last season with the Titans, as terrible as their pass game was. At number 2, keep in mind, I said I've got 7 wide receivers. Second wide receiver I'm taking, obviously, is Tyler Lockett. Older, yes. Veteran, yes. Been around a while, yes. But can still be effective. I think can still be a very reliable target for Cam Ward. And I like the leadership. I've said it before. Tyler Lockett kind of reminds me of when the Titans brought in DeMarco Murray, Delaney Walker, some of those guys who really helped build the culture, Ben Jones, those guys who really helped build the culture of the Titans and helped establish something where there was nothing. I think Tyler Lockett could be one of those guys who helps usher in a new culture, bring some personality to the team, kind of help a young quarterback in Cam Ward. I like the signing of Tyler Lockett for the veteran leadership that he brings, and I still think he can be a very reliable target for Cam Ward. Now, the next wide receiver is Alec Aomenor. Very excited about this guy. I like what he brings physically. I like that he can go up and get the ball. I like his physicality. In a perfect world, he would even surpass Tyler Lockett as wide receiver 2. I would love that. But absolutely, this guy needs to be at least wide receiver 3 on this team. I'm so excited about this pick. I love the fact that they were able to somehow get him at the end of the 4th round. I love the fact that this guy owned Travis Hunter in college. I'm very excited about Alec Aomenor, and I love him and Cam coming in together. They can grow. They can build. I love it. Speaking of rookies, up next is Chimere Dike, the guy they took at the top of the 4th. I think this guy's a lock to make the roster. For one thing, I think he's going to be the punt returner. I think he's going to return punts, kicks. Titans need that. Boy, do we. But I also think he will be active in the pass game. I compared him to Jaquan Jackson, who the Titans took in the 6th round last year. Felt like Jaquan Jackson was mainly here to return punts. Fast. That was mainly what he was here to do. He didn't really do much in the pass game on offense. I think Chimere Dike will be more involved in the pass game. His speed, because you look, Calvin Ridley is still fast. Calvin Ridley can still beat you deep, but Calvin Ridley's older. Tyler Lockett obviously isn't going to beat you deep. Alec Aomenor, more of a physical type receiver, but I'm sure he can beat you deep too. But Chimere Dike could really emerge as the speed guy who you just tell to run as fast as you can. Like hopefully a better version of Kendall Wright. Hopefully a better version of Taywan Taylor. Just the guy that can just sprint downfield. Khalif Raymond, maybe in one of that kind of role for the Titans. The 5th receiver of 7 that I'm going to take is Van Jefferson, another veteran. They went out and picked him up. Again, I don't expect I could see Van Jefferson being in like the Chris Moore type role. You remember Chris Moore from a few years ago with the Titans? I could see it being one of those things where it's like he gets 1 catch a game, 2 catches a game. Just a veteran, more so for the locker room than anything. But, if you need him, a reliable target who's been there, done that. So I think Van Jefferson will make it. But I remember, I got 2 more wide receivers making it. I got Treylon Burks making it. And the reason I've got Treylon Burks making it as one of the 7 wide receivers is why not? Why not? I don't think anybody's trading for him. Will Levis, I would believe you could probably get a trade for Will Levis at some point because he's a quarterback. He's shown signs. But with Treylon, he hasn't really done much of anything. He can't stay healthy. When he's in, he's not consistent. I don't think you're getting a trade for Treylon Burks. He's on the last year of his rookie deal. You've already said you're not picking up the 5th-year option. So he's cheap. He's affordable. It's low risk. Low risk. There's going to be no expectations on him whatsoever because everybody already views him as a bust. So whatever. Come in and make him the 5th guy on the depth chart, the 6th guy on the depth chart. Why not? Why not? If he gets hurt again or if he doesn't contribute very much, people are going to expect that anyway. And if he does anything more than that, then it'll be a pleasant surprise. So I think Treylon makes it. And then the 7th guy, everybody will like this one, I'm going with Xavier Restrepo. On one hand, it seems a little too good to be true that Xavier Restrepo would make the final 53-man roster as an undrafted rookie. But I think because of his familiarity with Cam Ward wants him there. If you can do something to let your new starting quarterback know that you've got his back by putting Xavier Restrepo on the roster, go ahead. But I think Xavier Restrepo, I think he should have been drafted by somebody. I don't understand. I think people made way too much of the bad 40 time. I think Xavier Restrepo should have been drafted. I think that hopefully Xavier Restrepo could turn out to be what everybody hoped Kyle Phillips was going to be. And, if that's what Cam wants, if Cam wants his guy there, and especially if Xavier Restrepo has a good camp and a good preseason, let's take all 7 of these guys. Let's, obviously, Ridley and Lockett as the veterans. Ridley, a proper wide receiver 1. Let's take both rookies in the 4th round, Ayomanor and Chimdike. Let's let Van Jefferson on as another veteran that's reliable. Let's give Treylon one more chance. Why not? And let's bring in Xavier Restrepo, who Cam Ward begged us to pick. Let's bring them all in. Let's do everything we can. Now, some of you are going to mention Bryce Oliver, and I like Bryce Oliver, but at the end of the day, with Ayomanor and Chimdike and Restrepo coming in, I just think he's going to be the odd man out. But I will say this. If Bryce Oliver comes in and he has a great camp and he has a great preseason, I wouldn't mind cutting Van Jefferson and taking Bryce Oliver instead. I wouldn't mind that. Like, if Van Jefferson's just kind of there and is just kind of a guy and Bryce Oliver is shining in camp and in preseason, I wouldn't mind at all swapping out Van Jefferson for Bryce Oliver. I wouldn't mind that because it's another young guy for hopefully Cam to grow with, and it's not like you don't have veteran leadership. You still got Ridley and Lockett. So I would not mind at all if you want to sub out Van Jefferson for Bryce Oliver. Doesn't bother me a bit. But those are my 7 wide receivers. I guess there's always a chance if Restrepo comes in and he's just not as good as people hoped, you could substitute him for Bryce Oliver, but I think Restrepo will do okay. Let's get to the tight ends. And the first one I'm putting on here is Gunnar. Am I on? Yes, I am. Gunnar Helm. I would put Gunnar. I think Gunnar Helm could be tight end 1 by the middle of the regular season. I really am excited about this guy. I think the tight end position is wide open for the Titans, and I'm going to elaborate on that in a second. I'm taking 3 tight ends to the roster, not 5 like they did last year. I'm taking Gunnar Helm first. I'm so excited about this guy. I think he's going to be such a reliable 3rd down target for Cam Ward. I think he could take over as the number 1 tight end on this team. Up next, I'm going to go ahead and put Josh Wiley. I have my doubts about Josh Wiley, but He's big. He did some okay things last year. I don't think I know it may be recency bias, but I just like Gunnar Helm more. Notice on the screen, if you're watching, I used a picture of Josh Wiley with the normal helmet and not the. I mean, I get he's trying to protect his head, but that helmet looks ridiculous that he wore last year. But I got Helm and Wiley, and the last. So hear me out here. The last spot, yes, I'm going to give it to Chigakonkwo, but as I was thinking about this, I'm not saying it's likely, but I think Chigakonkwo could be a potential trade candidate for the Titans over the course of the summer into the preseason. And I'll tell you why. First of all, he's been very inconsistent since his rookie season. He had a very good rookie season, and then in the 2 years since, he's just kind of not been as consistent. He's not exactly one of the guys that you look at and you're like, he's tearing it up. So that's the first thing. But also, it feels like this organization is trying to cut ties in any way they can with any John Robinson guy that they can. Chigakonkwo was a John Robinson pick. I could see them being willing to part ways. I think that he's almost more of a wide receiver than a tight end, just size-wise. He's not as big as Gunnar Helm or Josh Wiley. And also, if you take these three tight ends, Chig, Josh Wiley, Gunnar Helm, that's fine. But those are all young guys. Gunnar Helm obviously going to be a rookie. Josh Wiley, very young. And Chigakonkwo, very young. I could see a scenario where the Titans trade Chigakonkwo and then go out and get a veteran tight end to come in and bring some leadership. I could see that. I could see, last year they had like Nick Vanette, like a guy like that that's just, he's been around, he can block, he can be the third tight end. I could see them trading Chigakonkwo. I'm not saying they will, but I could see a scenario where they trade Chigakonkwo and then replace him with a veteran. Or, let's not act like they don't have other tight ends at their disposal. They put 5 on the main roster last year. Maybe David Martin Robinson comes in as the third tight end. That big old boy. Wouldn't mind that. But for right now, I'm just going to go with Chig, Wiley, and Helm as the 3 tight ends. And now let's get to the offensive line. I think the Titans, I've got 11 offensive linemen making the main roster. I think the Titans are going to do everything they can to protect Cam Ward and give him time. Obviously, you've got your starting 5, Dan Moore, Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, Kevin Zeitler, J.C. Latham. As I've said before, on paper, this should be an improved offensive line. But we don't play football on paper, so we will have to see how it works out. But Moore, Skoronski, Cushenberry, Zeitler, and Latham, there's your starting 5. But injuries happen. Things happen. Guys miss some time on the offensive line especially. So I've got a bunch of other dudes coming in to help out. First of all, I've got old reliable Corey Levin. I mean, Corey Levin is just he is the constant. He is always here, and he always does a good job if he ever has to go in. And especially with Lloyd Cushenberry coming off of that injury, Corey Levin, he may start week 1 if Cushenberry's not able to go. So I think Corey Levin is a reliable backup. I'd take him to the main roster. Blake Hance, this offensive lineman they picked up from Jacksonville, I've got him coming in as a free agent. A lot of veterans that the Titans have picked up for the offensive line, and of course, you want to protect your guy. You want to protect Cam Ward. You got to have all hands on deck. I've got the rookie Jackson Slater that they took in the 5th round. I think he'll make it. And all of these veterans and experienced guys you bring in, you still want to have a young guy that you're developing, and so I think Jackson Slater will be that guy. I think he'll make the main roster, and hopefully you're looking at a future starter. And then I've got these three guys. The Titans signed all these guys in the same day when they released Nicholas Petit-Frere, Sam Mustipher, Ali Udo, Brendan James. I think they all make it. I think the Titans are going to take every able-bodied offensive lineman that is even remotely good to the main roster that they can. Because, like I said, you've got to protect Cam Ward. I think they're going to take that very seriously. I think they are going to, I think they're going to all hands on deck, pretty much. So that if somebody gets hurt, we've got good backups to go in and our quarterback doesn't get killed. I think they're going to take as many offensive linemen as they can. So, that's the offensive side of the ball. 11 offensive linemen, 3 tight ends, 7 wide receivers, 3 running backs, 2 quarterbacks. Let's go to the defense, starting with the obvious. On the defensive line, Jeff Simmons. Some people have talked about him getting traded. I don't see it. I wouldn't do it. To me, Jeff is one of the main leaders on this team, established leaders, good player, really good player, and he's a culture guy too. So I'd keep Jeff. A guy we're looking for to step up, big T'Vondre Sweat. I love that picture of him on the screen after he got the fumble recovery against Cincinnati. T'Vondre Sweat, I mean, you're going to see a few of these guys on defense, especially. T'Vondre Sweat's a guy you need to really step up in year 2. You need him. He had a good rookie year. He needs a great sophomore year. He needs to come in and just be a monster. So I'm looking for T'Vondre Sweat to have a big year. They're going to need him to. Sebastian Joseph Day obviously re-signed. I like this signing for the Titans, bringing him back. Good rotational guy on the defensive line. Had a good season with the Titans in 2024. Hard to believe anybody had a good season with the Titans in 2024. But Sebastian Joseph Day did exactly what he needed to do. And another guy the Titans brought back on the defensive line, Keandre Coburn, I think he did a good job too. I think when it comes to defensive tackle, if T'Vondre Sweat can make that leap from year 1 to year 2 and come back and step up, this is not a bad rotational interior defensive line group. Jeff Simmons, obviously, if Sweat continues to build on what he did his rookie year, I'm excited about that. Sebastian Joseph Day and Keandre Coburn, both good rotational guys. I like those 4, but I think there will, and this may seem like a cop-out, I think they'll have a 5th guy, and I'm putting it as a question mark because they've got Abdullah Anderson technically on the roster, but I feel like I'm a little surprised that the Titans didn't draft a defensive tackle at some point in the draft because it really feels like they needed another young fella to come in and try to develop, but they didn't do it. I think the Titans will sign another defensive tackle over the course of the summer to take that 5th spot because I just don't see anybody else on their roster right now that can really make an impact. I think it'll mainly be these 4, Simmons, Sweat, SJD, and Keandre Coburn. But the thing is, much like the offensive line, you have injuries on the interior defensive line. You got to have guys at your disposal, and they'll have guys on the practice squad. But I think they'll take 5 defensive tackles to the main roster. I just don't know who that 5th one's going to be. I think it's somebody that's not on the team right now. I think they're going to go and sign somebody over the summer, just a reliable, another guy like Sebastian Joseph Day and Keandre Coburn, just a guy who can come in and give you good production for a couple snaps at a time. Okay, let's get to defensive end. Oh boy, or edge rush. First off, Arden Key. This was a guy that I did not think would be back on this team, but he's going to have to be back on this team. You part ways with Harold Landry. You already didn't have a good edge rush room anyway. They're going to need Arden Key to come back and at least be as good as he was last year. Because I thought Arden Key actually had a pretty good season. I still don't think Arden Key is a consistent starter. I think he's a good rotational guy, but I mean, he's probably going to have to start for the Titans because of just where we are with the edge rush room. But I've got Arden. I mean, Arden Key is going to have to be a leader on this defense because of the nature of the edge rush room. Of course, up next, I've got Femi Oladejo, the 2nd-round pick. Much like T'Vondre Sweat, you want to talk about a guy that's going to have to step up. I know he's a rookie, but because of how bad the Titans' edge rush room is, they really need something from Femi Oladejo in his rookie season. You really need this guy to be something because you spent a second-round pick on him, and your edge rush room sucks. So you better hope Femi Oladejo can do something. I will say, Draymond Jones, I think, will play a lot of edge rush for the Titans defensive end. I like that pickup. I do think, like, you could argue taking out Harold Landry and replacing him with Draymond Jones is not exactly a downgrade. If you're not willing to say it's an upgrade, that's fine. But it's not necessarily a downgrade. I think Draymond Jones is a good player. Again, good character, good leadership. I think he'll bring that. So I liked that pickup for the Titans when they made it a couple of months ago, and I think they'll have to rely on him as well. And then I've got a couple of other guys. So Jalen Harrell, who obviously was a 7th rounder last year, he did okay at times. I think I don't think he'll have a huge impact, to be honest with you. But I think Jalen Harrell is probably your best bet to be a 4th guy. And then I've actually got a 5th edge rusher going on too. Again, I just think this is a rotational guy for when everybody's tired. I went with Lorenzo Carter that they picked up from Atlanta. I don't think this guy's going to have a big impact at all. I think he's going to be the guy that goes in if everybody else is hurt or if everybody else is tired, it's a long drive or something. I don't see anybody else in free agency that really excites me at edge rush at this point. So I think the Titans will go with these 5. Arden Key, Femi Oladejo, Draymond Jones, Jalen Harrell, and Lorenzo Carter. And if I'm a betting man, they're probably going to take another edge rusher next year in the draft because even with picking up Femi Oladejo, it's still tough sledding. And speaking of tough sledding, let's get to the linebackers. We're closing in on the finish line here. Up first, Cody Barton. Cody Barton's going to have to be the veteran of this linebacker group because he's kind of it. Like, everybody else is young. So I've got Cody Barton kind of leading the way for the linebackers, and hopefully he can be an improvement of Jack Gibbons or especially Kenneth Murray. You want to talk about guys that have got to step up. Up next is Cedric Gray. Cedric Gray was a 4th rounder last year. People said he could be a steal because, of his tape from college. He came in hurt, didn't get in till really 3/4 of the way through the season last year, played a lot of special teams, was playing from behind really the whole time, you could tell. They're going to need Cedric Gray to step up in a major way at linebacker this year. Simply must. He's going to have to because they don't have anybody else. They do have James Williams, who I think, again, is a guy who will have to step up. Another rookie from last year. He'll have to step up. He's transitioned from another position to linebacker. So I don't think he's going to be a starter. I think he'll be a rotational guy. I think I'm more excited about Cedric Gray as a player. If he can stay healthy, if he can get healthy, if he can improve, because we just didn't see a lot of him, or James Williams for that matter. We saw a lot of James Williams on special teams, and so that's really one of the main reasons I'm confident James Williams will make the rosters, because he did get better on special teams last year. This guy here, Curtis Jacobs, from they picked up from New England, pretty much a rookie almost. I mean, he hadn't played a lot. So this is another young guy that they think has upside that they picked up from New England. Who knows? But I think you take him to the main roster. Hopefully he has a good camp. Again, the options are few. And as a 5th linebacker, listen, the Titans could sign another linebacker. I think they need to. I think they need another veteran linebacker in there because Cedric Gray is really young. James Williams is really young. Curtis Jacobs is really young. For right now, I'm going to give that 5th spot to Otis Reese, but I really would rather them go out and sign another linebacker this summer to take that, because I don't like the idea of going into the season with Cedric Gray, who's unproven, James Williams, who's unproven, Curtis Jacobs, who's unproven, and then the only veteran you have is Cody Barton. I know I put Otis Reese on here, but I would rather them go out and sign another veteran linebacker. You need veteran leadership in that room big time. But I think you need, Cedric Gray's going to have to step up especially, but James Williams too. But you need more veteran leadership. So I would hope instead of Otis Reese, you can go out and you can find somebody else in free agency. All right, let's get to the secondary. First off, L'Jarius Sneed. This trade's got to pay off. You've absolutely got to have this guy play well. You gave up a third rounder for him. You paid him well. He got hurt. It was obviously a worse injury than they thought, and he ended up being out the rest of the season. He's had legal trouble this offseason. He's got to figure it out. L'Jarius Sneed has to figure it out. A player we're all very excited about, Jarvis Brownlee. Got a lot of playing time last year, probably a lot more playing time than they were expecting. I like Jarvis Brownlee a lot. I'm very excited about him as a player, and I'm hoping that he continues to build on. I like how aggressive he was, but sometimes it was too aggressive and he was getting penalties. So if he can clean that up, I'm very excited about Jarvis Brownlee, not just this season, but in seasons to come. Roger McCreary, obviously getting to the point where you're either going to have to pay him or not. So this is a big year for Roger McCreary. But with these three right here, Sneed, Brownlee, and McCreary, if everybody can just stay healthy, I feel good about these three. I like these three. And then I got Marcus Harris, the 6th round rookie. Again, it's kind of the same premise as the offensive line. You need a young guy to be molding behind these guys, and so hopefully he has I do think he's a little undersized, but hopefully Marcus comes in and has a good camp and they feel good about putting him on the roster. And then I've got Darrell Baker. I thought Darrell Baker, that they picked up on waivers right before the season last year, played really well for them. There's a reason they re-signed him, so I think Darrell Baker could be a good rotational guy in the secondary. And these are the 5 corners I've got: Sneed, Brownlee, McCreary, Harris, and Baker. I'd probably put Baker ahead of Harris in the depth chart. All right, we're almost there. Safety, Amani Hooker. You know, I know our time is growing short with Amani Hooker. He's getting older, been around a while. I think this is this contract year for him. Like, this is it for him. I'm glad to have him back because there's just a calming presence about him. You know, he and Jeff are two of the only guys that have been around on this defense a while. So I like his leadership. He's a good player, always seems to be around the ball. So I like having Amani Hooker providing some stability at the back of the defense and on the team as a whole. Xavier Woods, another veteran player, not going to be great, but steady. He'll hold it steady at safety position, so I don't mind. I get what they were doing with that pickup. Kevin Winston, 3rd round pick. I'm excited about this. If he can, if all the injury stuff can work out, I'm very excited about him. Again, not just for this season, but in the future. Having this season to set behind Amani and Xavier Woods maybe gives him time to learn and get ready for the future. I like this. I really like this guy. And last but not least, I went with Mike Brown because of what he brings to special teams. And he got a little playing time at safety last year, and it wasn't totally offensive. So these 4, Amani Hooker, Xavier Woods, Kevin Winston, and Mike Brown. Maybe somebody could tell me, why did the Titans get rid of the guy just literally a couple of weeks ago? They got rid of the guy that, like, helped their special teams so much. I don't remember the guy's name, but they had, like, brought him back and everybody was like, good, he helped our punt team get better. And then they released him a couple of weeks ago. I was like, what the heck's going on? Speaking of special teams, that's 50 players on the 53-man roster. And let's end it with the special teams. Punter, Johnny Hecker. I know everybody's mad about Stonehouse. I think they cut Stonehouse because he was literally just kicking the ball far every time. And there are times where his windup was taking a little too long, and I think they viewed that as contributing to the blocked punts. And I also think there were times where they wanted him to down teams inside the 10, and he was just kicking it through the end zone every time. So Johnny Hecker, that's a name we've heard a million times. He's been punting for a while, so I'm fine with that. Good old Morgan Cox, the long snapper. Of course, he'll be on the roster, one of the constants. And then the new kicker, Joey Sly, coming in. And in the picture on the screen, if you can see that, absolutely ripped. So there's special teams, Johnny Hecker, Morgan Cox, and Joey Sly. And that is my prediction for the final 53-man roster on May the 5th. But obviously, we've got a long way to go, folks. We got a long way to go, and the summer is about to begin. Rookie camp, training camp, all of the different camps, and then ultimately preseason will be here before you know it. Thank you for listening and watching the Two Tone Talk by God pod, episode 163. Staying way too high on the wins, way too low on the losses. God bless you, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.